Table to me. Good evening. My name is Amy Bach. I am the executive director and one of the founders of the nonprofit United Policyholders. We're so pleased to bring you tonight's program and the special expert guests that we have with us and the information we'll be presenting to you on wildfire prepared rebuilding with a focus on methods and materials. If you have been on one of our roadmap to recovery programs before, you're familiar with the fact that we're a consumer group, that we are not here to sell you anything. We're here to give you information and support and help you make good decisions on your journey to recovering from a wildfire. So as I said, probably before we hit record, we're glad you found the time to be with us tonight. We are a 501c3. We are not for profit, not for sale, meaning we don't take money from insurance companies so that we can have an independent voice and give you information that is in your best interest. We have been doing wildfire recovery work and insurance consumer advocacy since 1991. We've had a lot of experience in what are the challenges that you face when your home has been damaged or destroyed in a wildfire, and how to get through the process as relatively painlessly as possible. We call ourselves Team Up, and what we bring to this program is our professional staff, some of whom are with us tonight, our government, business, and nonprofit partners, some of whom are with us tonight, our volunteers, who are people who primarily have either they're consumer-oriented professionals, or they are previous catastrophic loss survivors who pay forward help that they got through our program by sharing good ideas and strategies for other people that worked for them, or that they would recommend that you avoid. Tonight's program is brought to you through our Roadmap to Recovery program, but the subject matter is interwoven with the preparedness work that we do, helping people in areas where insurers have been reacting to the increased threat of wildfires by reducing the number of homes they will insure and raising premiums. And so we are helping households deal with that through our preparedness and our advocacy programs. And a little bit of what we're focusing on tonight, a little bit of the purpose is that rebuilding a wildfire resilient home has many benefits, and the biggest one is that it's makes it less likely that your home would be destroyed in a future wildfire. But the other benefit is that it makes the home more attractive to insurers, which in turn means it's a little easier for you to keep your home insured at a price you can afford, sort of a long range view. So just a reminder that we've got California folks registered tonight, as well as Colorado folks. So we have experts from both of those states with us. This is a link to the California 2021 Wildfire Help Library. Here's the link to the 2021 Marshall Fire Help Library. Those, as you hopefully know, are resources that are available to you 24/7. That we are updating on a regular basis to be useful to you. A reminder that we're here to give you general guidance, not legal advice, not professional advice. And we, of course, encourage you, if you do feel like you have legal questions, to confer with an experienced lawyer. And we do have a professional find help directory on our website where you can find some of the businesses that support us and that we know to be helpful to consumers in your position. Tonight's slide deck will be available to you. You can follow along at our website here. And so you see on the right there, the yellow highlighted, you can go to uphelp.org, or you just click on, actually, this is not live for you. Go to our website, go to events, go to the page for this event, tonight's event, go to the right side and click on that last link there that Carolyn Winter has highlighted for you. Coming up, because we have a lot of content tonight, we won't be taking questions during the program. So we have scheduled a Q&A session on July 21st, where you'll be able to log back in free of charge, and our professional experts from Phoenix and from the rebuildingbetter.org website, both of whom have agreed to be present again at that Q&A. So you'll be able to store up your questions and ask them on July 21st. And Robbie Schwartz will be sharing with you an event series that he'll be offering, his organization will be offering in Colorado. And Robbie, did you say that the first one is on the 19th, the information, the Q&A opportunity for people to ask questions about rebuilding? Is the first one on the 19th?
It's on the 20th.
Okay.
It'll be we have a plan for 4 consecutive Wednesdays starting the 20th.
Okay, so if you're a Colorado resident, you'll be able to tune in to Robbie's program on the 20th, and then presumably you'll have an opportunity to ask him questions from that if you haven't gotten your questions answered the day before. Also coming up from our organization on the 13th, we will be talking about deadlines and decisions at the 2-year anniversary. So any of you who are California folks from 2020 fires, that one is for you. We will have another survivor forum for everybody, anybody from any fire on Tuesday, July 19th. And those are the links for signing up. And if you are thinking about skipping the rebuild process and using your insurance money to buy a replacement home, you can join us at the end of July for a program focused on that. I'm here with you tonight. That's me, Amy Bach. I'm joined by my Deputy Executive Director, Val Brown, who will be handling a portion of the educational program tonight. I'm very, very pleased to be joined by Lori Fisher and Sarah Walker with Phoenix Development and their client, Ryan Palos, who lost his home in the 2019 tick fire here in Southern California. And is now living in a rebuilt resilient home designed and built by Lori and Sarah's team. And we're also joined tonight by Robbie Schwartz, who, based in Colorado, is with the Marshall Fire. He's the Marshall Fire New Homes Building Advisor, which is a mouthful, but obviously very, very important, helpful resource. So Lori, Sarah, Ryan, and Robbie, thank you so much for being with us this evening. We will be covering tonight these 8 topics. And now periodically you'll see one of these slides, and the idea here is when you see one of these slides, you want to relax your shoulders and to help the blood flow to your brain to process all this information that we are giving you. And this is just a chance for you to just absorb what's coming at you. A lot of it is technical. So this is just a reminder that part of building a resilient home, wildfire resilient home, is making sure that you have defensible space around to the extent that you can. And then these are sort of some of the main components is having a non-combustible roof, non-combustible siding, and then this is just highlight some of the vulnerabilities that many existing properties have with having that you don't have some of those considerations now because of the vegetation having been destroyed, but we will be touching briefly on sort of your planning for what you want to have around your house. And just this is just a reminder that every preparedness expert that is in this space is pretty much in agreement that having no trees or plants within 5 feet of your home is pretty much essential to having a home that would be considered to be wildfire resilient. This comes off of the Robbie's organization's website. This is just the basics again on what factors make a home considered to be resilient. Those are 9 of the features. And now I'm going to turn things over to our friends Lori Fisher and Sarah Walker from Phoenix Development to share their screen and tell us about the really exciting work that they are doing in California. Not quite yet available in Colorado, but will be certainly helpful for anyone who lives in California, but also for those of you in Colorado, instructive and important information in addition to what you'll be hearing from Robbie, who's based in Colorado. So Lori, take it away.
Thank you very much, Amy. So I'm going to go ahead and share my screen now. And does everybody see my screen?
Yep.
Excellent. Okay. Well, thank you very much, Amy and Val, everybody at UP. You guys are awesome and you're doing really amazing things to help a lot of people. And see, I'm just arranging my screen here. And for you folks in Colorado, although we're not building in Colorado, we're definitely open to communication. Send us an email. If there's anything that we can do to help you maybe find people that are simpatico with the things that we're trying to do. Basically, we're here for you. Whether we're actually designing and building your new home or not, we're dedicated to. We exist because we want to help fire survivors. And so again, my name's Lori Fisher. I'm a California registered architect, and I'm also CEO and president of Phoenix Development. And we just want you to know that we're working to help you through what we understand to be one of the most difficult periods of your life, if not the most difficult period. So we hear you, we're listening, and I hope you enjoy this presentation. And we're the first design builders in the nation to be offering custom homes that are non-combustible, the most non-combustible and fire resistant that's possible per code. And our homes are also net zero energy consumption, also per code. So everything that we offer is backed up by code approvals. And we're going to show you more about what we're doing. And so welcome, and we really appreciate you sharing your time with us this evening. So, the title of the webinar tonight is Resiliency, Rebuilding Resiliently. And we're going to share with you, going a little bit deeper into what resiliency means to us. And I'll share with you some of the challenges that we've experienced building fire resistant homes and the solutions that Phoenix has found to help people navigate this process more easily. And as was discussed before, remember that we have a Q&A session coming up in a few weeks. So as you're listening, if you have questions, words that you don't know, anything like that, please jot that down. And also make sure to download the presentation so that you can review it later on to catch up on things that you missed. This stuff is complicated, and we understand that. And so don't be be patient with yourself and take your time to listen and take your time to breathe. And we'll try not to get too technical with you tonight. So, well, we all know why we're here. Not only is the number of wildfires increasing, but they're also burning more land. And as a result, more people like yourselves are losing homes. And that's a problem, that's a crisis. And we're losing homes so quickly that we're losing them faster than we can rebuild them. And so there's a lot of pressure on the industry to just build the way we have been. There's not enough time to innovate. So we just keep building the way we know how, over and over again, because apparently that's the fastest way. That's the only way we know how, but it's not necessarily the way we should be building. How do we build? We build with wood. And why do we build with wood? Well, we build with wood because we've always built with wood. There's really no other reason. It's not that it's the best material or the most appropriate. Europeans started building with wood. They built structures of heavy timber and logs, and put together a structural frame, and then they infilled it with bricks or something called wattle and daub, a plaster and straw mixture. Once we had our folks come in, to live in North America, they set up shop here and they settled, and they had to work with what they could find, and what they had a lot of was wood. So instead of the plaster and the bricks, they were infilling with wood sticks. And very quickly they realized, wow, this is a lot easier than rough hewing those logs and beams and carrying them all that way. And it's very labor intensive. And so they realized, the sticks can hold up pretty much on their own. So they got rid of the heavy timber. And voila, we've been building that way for 200 to 300 years, and it hasn't changed. So the thing about wood is that, it burns. And so there are a lot of things that we have to do to keep it from burning, but actually that's not exactly accurate. What we're actually doing is we're keeping wood from failing. And so the reason that the building codes were established in the first place, a little over 100 years ago, was because buildings were getting more and more complex. They were getting bigger, taller, had more people in them. So in order to get people out in time, we had to we had to basically write building codes in order to keep the building safe. So what we did was we have in the code, that's where you hear the 1 hour, 2 hour, 4 hour protections. So it's basically, it's not to keep the wood from burning. It's to keep the wood from failing, to give people enough time to get out of the building. So what really matters is it's about life safety. It's about saving lives. It's not about saving the structure. Get the people out, and whatever happens to the structure happens. So, what do we have to do to wood to keep it from failing? We can wrap it in non-combustible materials. We can spray it with coatings. We can treat it with chemicals, impregnate it with things. But, guess what? Whatever you do to it, you're not going to get the wood out of the wood. It's still going to be wood. So the other thing that you have to think about is that no matter how non-combustible your walls are, if you put a hole in it, it's literally out the window. So in design and construction, we have a term called the building envelope. And the building envelope is the skin. It defines the barrier we got to keep the inside in and the outside out. So it's not just about fire, it's about water, it's about hot and cold and all the other elements. And so obviously we need holes in our building. We need light and air to get in, and we also need, we need to get in and out of our building safely. So we want to try and minimize the openings, but the openings are vulnerable. So, so we do have to protect them. Now, the crazy thing is that the code does a pretty good job about, at least in California, the new, well, the WUI codes, Wildland Urban Interface codes that came about 10 years ago. They mandated tempered glass in the windows, which is very good. Tempered glass resists high temperatures, it doesn't break, but guess what? So many builders still use vinyl windows. And vinyl melts. So, you know, you can put all that tempered glass in those windows that you want, but in a fire, that vinyl melts, the glass drops out, and boom, you have a gaping hole in your structure. And, you know, that's going to be a problem. So basically what we've got is, you know, we're one step forward in the sense that we're improving the methods and, you know, making things better. But, you know, we're still going backwards because we're starting from behind the finish line. You know, it's like, instead of just starting with non-combustible materials right off the bat, we're taking combustible materials and try to make them non-combustible. And so there's a little bit of it's not the most efficient way to move forward, put it that way. And so what we've been describing so far is fire resistance, okay? And what we really want to be talking about tonight is resilience. And so what does it mean to be resilient? And, you know, so that's what we're here to talk about. And, you know, resistance is safety now. You know, I'm gonna protect my home now. That fire comes, I'm safe. But, you know, the fire goes away, you're gonna have some damage. And it doesn't solve the problem of the fire coming back again. Resilience, on the other hand, that's safety forever. So it not only protects you from the event at hand, but it also helps you prepare for future events. And guess what? It also winds up helping us avoid future events. You know, that's what in the Phoenix mindset, that's what true resiliency is. You know, resistance is a Band-Aid. Resilience is really approaching the solution. And, you know, so since we all know pretty much the main cause of why these wildfires are getting worse, it's climate, right? I mean, there's other reasons too, but climate really is the principal reason. Temperatures are rising, snow melts sooner, the forests drier, they're drier longer. In California, we don't even have a dry season anymore. It's, you know, we don't even have a fire season anymore. It's basically the entire year is fire season. And so the fires are getting worse, they're getting bigger. And then guess what? That releases all that carbon back into the environment, back into the atmosphere, and then the temperatures rise. And so we've got this terrible cycle here. And so, you know, the thing is it's like, well, buildings, I mean, my house, how, you know, what do I have to do with the climate? Well, guess what? You know, half of global CO2 emissions are produced by buildings. So a lot of people think, you know, carbon emissions, they think of cars and vehicles and industry, but really it's buildings. So if you're somebody who works with budgets, you understand that, you know, in order to cut a budget, you're not going to start with the small item, right? You're going to start with the biggest top line item, and you're going to try and cut that. And so look at this pie chart. I mean, buildings are about half of global emissions. So if we can start cutting down on what buildings contribute to those emissions, we're going to put a big dent into, you know, basically helping solve the problem. And so we've got this cycle of insanity, right? So, you know, the homes are destroyed, then we rebuild them with wood. The climate change is fueled, the wildfire, you know, and it just keeps going and going. And we all know that it's kind of like this endless loop. And so, you know, what we're saying is, you know what, let's break the cycle. And so what if I told you that we can design and build a home that is not only fire resistant, but also climate resilient? And you might say, well, okay, but, aren't you guys like, overachievers, or, isn't the fire problem enough? Just deal with the fire problem, and then maybe later we can tackle climate resiliency, right? Well, yes, I am kind of a nerd. It's not the first time I've been accused of that. And maybe we are overachievers somewhat, but the reality is that it turns out that the process that we've developed that's good for fire survivors is also good for the planet. I mean, it really just went hand in hand. It was kind of natural. So, it was a neat surprise. And so now we get to where I get to tell you about what Phoenix Home actually is and what we've been talking about all this time. We started Phoenix Development in 2019. After spending some time with Santa Rosa fire survivors in 2018, I was frustrated with the process, and I contacted my friend and colleague, Tony Penna of Penna Construction. Penna Construction is the leading and longest established insulated concrete form contractor in the state of California. I had been designing and building with him since 2013, and he was kind of the natural person to turn to. And when I said, we've got to figure something out, got to figure out how to help these people and solve this problem. And he says, wow, we've been thinking the same thing. And he's like, we've even got a name, Phoenix, rising from the ashes. I'm like, oh my God, so we were literally both on the same track. And so, as I was saying, my first experience working with fire survivors was with Santa Rosa folks in the spring of 2018. Of course, they lost their homes in the 17 Tubbs fire, which was a very, very destructive fire. And it blew my mind. I mean, right off the bat, the first thing I noticed was that they were not happy to see me. And I know, boy, that's hard to believe, right? But honestly, one of the most favorite thing that I love about my job is that I'm a happy hire. People are happy when they hire me. They've been dreaming about their dream home, and this is the moment, this is the time they've been waiting for. And so this was the first time in my career where I was working with people that did not want to be there. This was not a happy moment for them, and that really, that really took me aback. Wow, this is a new experience for me. The next issue was that I could tell they weren't processing. This is a lot of information, and so I said, "There's something going on here." Now, I've been state certified for the past 8 years in crisis intervention because I do work with victims of violent crime. And I'm trained in trauma-informed care. I'm trained to recognize trauma and speak with people who are experiencing trauma. And as I was talking to these people, the hair on the back of my neck was just standing up. I knew, oh my gosh, these people are traumatized. And so I understood that they're not listening to they're not processing. I mean, I could have asked them, okay, so you said you needed the garage to be big enough for your spaceship, right? Yeah, that's right. And I'm like, whoa. We have to be a lot more careful about questions and answers and how we're moving forward. And so then, once we get through the design process, then holy cow, so many different, it was shocking. So budget, wild, crazy budgets, under budget, over budget. Budgets that were egregiously underestimated, delays, overruns. And I had very little control because, normally I'd have a little more control over budget, but, the contractors were pretty much running the show. So, they just kept saying, Lori, you're good, Lori, you're good. And then we start construction and holy cats, we're, hundreds of thousands of dollars over. Unfortunately, also a lot of incompetence and dishonesty even. Like I had mentioned before, there was a lot of pressure. And so anybody who had swung a hammer wanted to go out and start building buildings. And, most of it was well-intentioned, but it doesn't work out well. And then guess what? After all this, we're still building stuff that burns. There's that home sitting out there. I mean, one of my Santa Rosa projects was under construction, and during construction, not one, but two more fires came within 1 mile of their construction site while we were under construction. It was a wood structure. So these are the things that prompted me to call Tony Penna, and Tony and I co-founded Phoenix Development in 2019. So what is a Phoenix home? A Phoenix home is a forever home because it's durable, and it lasts. I mean, it would be hard to say it lasts forever, but it lasts for a really long time. And we say that they're for everyone because they're not any more expensive than a traditional ordinary build. It's comparable. In some cases, it might even be less, depending on what you're looking for. So how is Phoenix different, and how do we do it? So the old way, combustible construction, I'm going to try and make this really short and clear. In the code, there is a scale of 1 to 5 of combustible, 1 being most fire resistant, non-combustible, 5 being combustible, and the least fire resistant. Okay, 1 is most fire resistant, 5 is least fire resistant. So the way we're building homes now is literally the most combustible, the least fire resistant way you could possibly build a building allowable by code. That's how we've been building homes now. So with Phoenix, we are building homes that are non-combustible type 1A. This is the most fire resistant home possibly attainable by code, and we're building them. The old way, you're grid dependent. The Phoenix way, we've had a lot of requests from fire survivors that they want battery storage because PG&E is cutting the power all the time. So we want our refrigerators, we want our computers, we want our air conditioning. So we've incorporated battery backup storage systems, gas appliances. You saw that in Robbie's grid there that he had. Gas appliances are, sometimes there's no natural gas service. And so you've got a propane tank sitting out there. That's not good. Also, if there is a puncture in the line or something, that's an additional danger. But, we're net zero. And so in order to be net zero, we can't be burning fossil fuels anyways. So we've got an all electric home. So you don't have to worry about the added costs about installing gas. You don't have to worry about the dangers of gas. We're all electric. The old way, dependence on the volatile markets, labor, wood, fasteners, all that stuff. So part of our secret sauce, I'm sure a lot of you have been doing Googling and you find all these great products that are out there. There's a lot of innovation happening. There really is. It's amazing because we're still building homes the way we've been building them for hundreds of years, but there is innovation out there. So why isn't it happening? And the reason is because it takes dozens, if not hundreds of people to make a building. So all of these great products out there, you've got to make sure the architect knows how to use it, the engineer knows how to, work with it, plan checkers and plan officials know about it. The contractors need to know how to build with it, right? And then after all that, you need to make sure it's code compliant. Does it have reports? Does it have that performance test? If a product is saying it's non-combustible, what says it's non-combustible? If a product is saying that it's fire rated for 4 hours, what's saying that? Structural, seismic, all of that stuff. So what Phoenix did is we spent 3 years assembling a team of, when you go to our website, you'll see that you'll recognize some of the names that we have: Mitsubishi, Sherwin-Williams, Cambria Countertops. I mean, we've got some of the top, Sierra Pacific Windows. There are other names you probably aren't going to know because they're more industry names, but they're well-respected, dependable companies. And by the way, on our Phoenix team, we have a combined experience of over 100 years. We've been doing this for a long time. So, Tony has about 40 years of experience. I've got over 25 years of experience designing buildings. And one of our other partners who is on the construction side with Tony, he adds another 40 years of experience to the mix. So we put all of our heads together, and we basically combed through the whole process and said, where can we make this easier? What's causing it? What's holding it up? What's making it take long? What's the problem here or there? And we streamlined it. So that's how Phoenix works. So the old way, you've got these out of control budgets, it's because of all the volatility and the unpredictability. But the Phoenix way, because we have all this predictability built into the process, we can offer our clients what we call the 10% concept budget. Now, it's not a guarantee. We're still in real world here. This is construction. Like I said, it takes hundreds of people to make a building. So, if it was me all alone doing it, I'd have no problem saying, sure, I can do it for you in this time for this amount of money. But there's a lot of people involved. So, we've got to be bringing all these people together and get them on the same page. But what we say is that, we're reasonably certain that if you start construction within this certain period of time, your contract will be within 10% of that number. And, again, we can't guarantee that, but we get this to you really early in the process before you've had to invest tens of thousands of dollars in design. And what this allows us to do is it's very precise. So it allows us to kind of retool the design if we need to do some value engineering early. It's a lot cheaper to move lines around on pieces of paper than it is to move walls around, right? So typical delivery is 2+ years. I think that's charitable. In my experience, it's really more to 3 to 5. Our homes, we're working on less than 18. When Ryan talks to you, and I've got another slide, Phoenix One, our first one, took 21 months start to finish. So we missed our goal by 3 months, but it was our first one. So Phoenix 2 breaks ground in a couple of weeks, and we're thinking we can get construction down to less than 9 months on that one. The old way compounds the trauma of losing your home as if you need that. The Phoenix way, our streamlined process is trauma informed. So even our interior design process is simplified. So, the information comes in at an easier pace. The questions are easier. We produce a lot of 3-dimensional renderings, so you get a really good idea of what your home is going to look like. And the maintenance costs. The Phoenix way, there's no wood in our building, so that you'll never have to tent for termites. There's no rot. There's no painting. Water infiltration is a lot less of a problem. And then obviously net zero. Your electric bills are virtually zero. I mean, the utility companies are managing to raise fees and stuff, so there's that. But and we've founded Phoenix on 4 pillars, 4 foundational pillars, and I'm not going to go into all of these.
Yeah, I'm sorry, Lori. I just need to kind of hurry you along a little bit because we want to make sure we get to hear from Ryan and Robbie and
of course.
Great.
And I'm almost done.
Thank you.
Okay, thanks, Amy. Sorry about that.
That's okay. I know you're excited and you have a lot of good information, and we appreciate it.
Okay. Basically, here's the timeline for Phoenix One, the Paulus family home. And, we managed to finish it in 21 months. I've got more pictures of Phoenix One after this slide, but just to show you what we've got on tap. Phoenix 2 up in Yosemite, construction start in July in a couple of weeks. We've got Phoenix 3 in Capistrano Beach starting in August. Phoenix 4 in San Diego starting this fall. And then on the boards, we've got 5, 6, and 7 in the Los Angeles area. And we are prepared to work statewide. That's our model. And so I think I could hand it over to Ryan now, and I can just show you some quick photos of Phoenix 1, and then I'll hand it over to Ryan.
Beautiful. It looks amazing. Now we all want to live there. Thank you
Did
so
you
much,
want me to?
Lori. And Ryan, I'm sorry, you were going to ask a question. Go ahead.
Oh, I was going to say, did you want me to talk while the photos were playing in the background? No, go ahead.
I could show the photos again. Sure.
Yeah, that's a great idea. So Ryan, thank you so much for making the time to be with us. We certainly know you have a lot of just like everybody goes through a wildfire and comes back out on the other end. You have lots of good information to share. But for tonight, we just are very interested to hear just a quick recap of what led you to decide to go this route, and then anything you can share about how you had to negotiate with your insurance company about paying for this home being different from the one that you had.
Okay. Before I started, I just wanted to say a shout out to your website. Once you had contacted me, I kind of looked through the website, and there is a lot of good information on there. A lot. I wish I actually looked at that in the beginning phase, because we went through a lot of what's listed on there, and a lot of the items, for example, like the tax part of it and the insurance, we're still dealing with. So I'm actually gonna read that section of it. So you really do have a useful website there with a lot of good information. So thank you. So really the genesis of why we decided to do this build, a couple of days after the shock of losing the house and everything, I Googled fireproof house. Now we use fire resistant house, but really the images that were coming up, there was one particular one that showed a master plan community. I forget what fire it was, but it was in San Diego area. Of that block of homes in a cul-de-sac, only 3 homes were standing. A couple of years later, another fire comes through there, and everything goes except for those 3 homes. So that was kind of the genesis of why we decided to build with insulated concrete forms, to utilize that type of building. And it kind of brings me back to the story of the 3 little pigs. I always remember that story. They built with sticks, then with wood, then with bricks. So kind of like, that's kind of a no-brainer. It was I know a lot of people logged on right now are going through it or have gone through it, and it's something that we didn't want to experience again. Also, with my kids being as young as they were, it was it's very traumatic, and it still is. I think part of the resources on there were also for the trauma that happens from an event like this, and it's still ongoing. I think it was good that the kids had it when they were younger, but it still pops up. So again, there was another section on your website with sources regarding that. So very helpful. Aside from the fact of the building being fire resistant, utilizing insulated concrete forms, the other benefits that came along with it was the big bonus for me was the whole energy efficiency, because we live in California. It feels like we're on fire right now. We're in triple digit heat right now. And literally like we're comfortable. You know, there's really no variation in temperature here. The AC's running on low, very efficient units. So we've been in here now for about 5 months. So I really can't talk to give information in regards to the energy part of it because I'm still waiting on permission to operate from Southern California Edison. So, but my bills are in like $40 every month right now. The other thing is it's a lot quieter too. Also pest resistant. You know, we don't have to worry about, you know, termites or, you know, spiders. When we were in our rental properties, you know, the spiders were coming in, and there's just really no opportunity for them to get through foam and 6-inch of concrete and rebar, you know, so that's another benefit too. Lori had touched on it in regards to battery backup. So when the fire happened, that was, you know, the date is imprinted in our minds forever. It's October 25th. We were having rolling blackouts here because of the wind. So Edison was shutting off our powers. And so the fire started in the front of our house. They had taken care of it by 10 p.m., but the fire came back at around 1:30. And that's when my wife woke me up, and we left, and the whole neighborhood was all in orange hue, and just seemed like the whole neighborhood was going to go. But there was in our HOA, it was just our house that went. And yes, we lost everything. We've been evacuated before, so we were used to the process, and you know, we had our 5 totes that we normally put in the car, and then we just head on out, and we thought everything was going to be good. And you know, we found out during watching the news at a friend's house that our house was on fire. So yeah, that's how we found out there.
Did
Yeah,
you?
so it's good that.
So I'm sorry. So
Go ahead. I'm sorry.
no, this is just really helpful and important. How long after you got that shock and that news did you decide? Were you sure you wanted to rebuild right out of the gate, or did you think about moving?
No, we like our neighborhood. Our jobs are pretty stable, so that's kind of why we decided to stay.
Mhm.
I know it did cross our mind to move, but it just didn't make sense.
And then
at the
did
time.
you? Thank you. And then did you have in your mind the resilient, like that you wanted, you know, like you said earlier, you had seen pictures of homes that were still standing among others that went down. So did you kind of have early on the idea that you wanted to pursue resilient rebuild?
Yes, just because the way our house is situated, our backyard is basically the Angeles Forest. So since we've moved in here, and it's only been 5 months, we've had 5 fires around us. So it's not a fire season here. It just happens all the time. So yeah, it's literally that cycle that Lori's talking about, and it's an accelerated cycle. It just goes and goes.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's why I wanted to build. So for I'm sorry, I forgot your question. For insurance.
No, you answered it. You said that
Okay.
from the get-go, you were oriented to rebuilding and to rebuilding with an eye toward fire resistance.
Yes, that was the main purpose was for the fire, but then, like I said, all the other benefits that came with it, the energy efficiency, pest resistance, quietness, it just was all just all on top, cherry on top, you know?
Yeah. So can you talk
Mhm.
to us a little bit about you mentioned that you might still be negotiating with your insurer. Did you run into a problem with the insurance company where they said, well, we'll just pay for what you had, we're not going to pay for some, you know, space age newfangled innovative type of a house?
Yeah. So I can only speak about us. We really didn't want to have to argue with anybody. So we went the route of hiring a public adjuster to, to fight in our behalf, only because we've never experienced it. And we just heard a lot of stories about what you're talking about, like, deer looking at headlights, we don't know what to do. And so we understood that, they did get a cut of whatever was they were going to give to us, but then at least it gave us a little bit of assurance that, what, they've been around the block, and, they can get more monies for us than
Sure.
we would normally do.
It's a very practical
Um,
approach.
Yeah. And then another benefit too, Lori really did help us with this. There's a lot of rebates out there, utilizing electric. So we got a good chunk of that from our energy company for going electric with all appliances that we utilize. So yeah, and Lori was really a good advocate, and she really helped get us that money. So
Yeah. And so,
and
go ahead.
go ahead.
No, I was just going to
Same.
ask you.
Mhm.
So did you kind of decide we're going to do this project, and I'm not going to wait for my insurance company to give me a green light?
Yeah, the big thing was we wanted to make sure that we stayed in budget, and we did stay in budget. That was our biggest thing. We only had a set amount because hindsight, right? We were uninsured, so we had to take out a construction loan to finish the house, and so it was important for us to stay within budget, and we did. I think the time frame was kind of skewed a little bit, only just because of COVID.
Yeah.
So it really did hamper a lot of, getting materials and also coordinating with the subs and whatnot. But yeah, I think she navigated, and with the times that we had with COVID. So
Yeah, I'm sure. I'm sure that Lori was a great partner. Did the public adjuster, was the public adjuster able to reach an agreement with your insurer on what they would owe you to rebuild the house that you had?
yeah, that part of it was we're still in regards to some of the upgrades, not upgrades, the Title 14 requirements and all of those updates. The big thing is, for us was documentation of all of the items that we lost, the contents part of it. That's really the hiccup that we have, when they told us that we had 2 years to get it done, or, it was just a tedious task, with everything that you have to do, building, like trying to find another rental. It ended up being, we asked for an extension on it, and we just recently submitted the final part of that. They did give a chunk of it, but they really wanted an itemization. I wish I had, there's tips on there, take photos. It would just have made everything a lot easier to do.
Yeah, well, you're in lots of good company of people who learn lessons a little bit the hard way, and it's not natural for people to think about
Yeah.
creating that detailed an inventory. And of course, we're working very hard to relieve people of that burden, and to really get rules in place so that you don't have to go through that painstaking process. So okay, so you are still there's still some parts of your insurance claim that are open. Is that right, Ryan? Okay.
Yes.
But you were able to move forward with the project, get some gap funding for so you were underinsured, and so you had to find a financial product that would help you bridge. And then did the insurer have any involvement during the construction process, in like going and inspecting, or were they sidelined for the
No.
okay.
No. Yeah.
Okay.
And it was just weird. And I think we were just assigned literally a new, like a newbie guy that was assigned to us who just took forever. I think he just, luck of the draw, I guess. And his supervisor didn't even, he kind of wanted him to learn along the way, and it just took forever. We're literally almost 3 years now. And, I know there's other people that experience the same thing with other insurers, but I thought that they would move a lot quicker than they did.
It doesn't make it right. It's not right. And one of the things we are constantly working toward is to remove some of those burdens, streamline the process, and really, get insurers to handle these total loss claims differently than they would a claim where there might be a question about, who was at fault. So this is incredibly helpful. It's incredibly helpful for you to be here and share, your bit about your journey. And, we're so happy for your family that you are living in that looks like an absolutely beautiful home. And, of course, we wish you had found us sooner and benefited from some of our guidance, but it seems like you're doing, all things considered, you're in a good place, relatively speaking. So,
no, I totally appreciate it. I'm literally looking at the tax section on there. So no, I wish maybe during, when I look back on it, the other helpful thing was when, what's that called? The Red Cross had an event for fire victims. If they had something like for you guys out there, it would have been totally helpful. And I think, you have so much resource on there. Like if there's any fire victims right now, look at it. It's literally a roadmap of helpful information.
Well, Ryan, we appreciate the kind words. We are very, some of these smaller fires, where they're, like yours, we definitely, did our best to be there, but also when there's like fires in different areas and, we tend to have to focus where there's like large numbers of homes down. And certainly the Marshall Fire is one of those. And certainly the 2017 fires, another one, Paradise, another one where we did a lot of really intensive work. So I'll tell you what, we have another expert that we want to hear from for Colorado folks. I would love, if you're willing to stay on till the end, Ryan, but no pressure if you got to get back to your family. We are so grateful to you for being on and sharing a bit of your experience. And I know we'll be having a question and answer session on the 21st of July that Lori has kindly agreed to be part of. And so she'll be able to answer some of the questions on your behalf, but certainly if you are available on that evening, Thursday, July 21st, and willing to come back on, I imagine people might have some questions for you, but totally optional. We're so grateful that you were with us tonight.
No, thank you for having me. Yes, no, I'll be available. Thank you.
Great.
Thanks, Ryan. It was good to see you. Thanks.
Really grateful. Okay, so I'm going to go back to our deck here where we were. Okay, so we've gone through Phoenix. Okay, so I'm going to do a quick recap. You heard about that the Palos family just went ahead and figured out how to finance their project so that they wouldn't be get held up with insurance approvals. And the best way to do that generally is to reach an agreement with your insurance company. If you are not intending to rebuild the identical home to the one you had, which 99% of fire survivors don't want to, they want to build either a smaller, larger, new, different, more modern type of a house than what they had. But because your insurance policy is designed to put you back in the position you were in before the loss, it's generally essential to settling it's generally essential to building the house you want to build, that you reach an agreement with your insurer on the as was. And we often call it the theoretical or the hypothetical cost of, if you were going to put that house back just the way it was, stick for stick, board for board, what would it cost? Including code upgrades that the locality would require you to do. And for those of you who are from the Marshall Fire, you know that both the towns of Louisville and Superior, as well as unincorporated Boulder, have been trying to be as flexible as they can as far as code upgrades. There's some people that want to comply with all the codes in terms of energy efficiency. Some people who want to, but because they're underinsured, are afraid that that's going to put their projects out of their budget. So we know about all that. But anyway, back to what's important is that we really recommend that you do your best to reach agreement with your insurance company to free you up to do the build that you want to do, right? Because if you start to try to go forward with a project to rebuild a house that's very different from what you had, adjusters are trained to be very to be obstructionist in that situation, because they're trained, their mantra and a lot of the insurers is, we pay what we owe, not a penny more. And so if they think that you're trying to profit from your loss, that's going to get things off track. So that's a recommendation. Of course, we have a lot of materials and a lot of programs that you can watch for free on your website, on our website, to help you figure out how much the maximum is available to you. That's something that we teach you how to do on your own. We also, of course, acknowledge that hiring a professional like a public adjuster is another way to do that. And it does mean you give up a piece of your benefits. So for some people that doesn't feel economically sensible, for other people it's worth it, because very often it's like always pretty much a good public adjuster, somebody who's very experienced and has good ethics, is generally they know how to look in every nook and cranny of the policy. But a lot of our materials are designed to teach you how to do that yourself. So those are the buckets of coverage that we always want to remind you to find, and then to do the math if you have extended coverage. By now, I'm going to guess that almost everybody who's on tonight's program has done the math. You're far away enough from your fires that it's pretty important not just to rely on the insurance adjuster to do that math, but to do it yourself, so that if you've got these extras like this sample policy, 150% extended coverage, extra coverage for code upgrades, that you are making sure that you collect all those monies. For those of you who live in California, you are allowed to take whatever bucket of coverage you have for other structures, which is your garages, outbuildings, retaining walls, walkways, etc. And you can combine that with your coverage A on your dwelling, and you can use those funds towards the cost of replacing your dwelling. It's somewhat helpful to people who are underinsured. Just again, I'm not going to go into a whole lot of detail here because we really want to get to Robbie in Boulder. So this is just another example of the guidance that we offer on maxing out every dollar that might be available to you in your policy. As far as code upgrades, there are we have a sample on a couple samples on our website if you want to see how first of all how to find how much code upgrade coverage you may or may not have, and then we have a sample of what a breakdown of building code costs might look like, so that you make sure that your insurance company is giving you fair compensation for code upgrade costs. So often, your county or your city will publish information like this, where they will say, they'll kind of give you the Cliff Notes version of, these are the code upgrades that likely will be required in your project. And this is just from our website about, again, these are kind of the common code upgrade items. Electrical, possibly sprinklers, possibly efficiency with water and electricity. And this is just a breakout from when you're proving up code upgrades, what it might look like. A reminder, we're all about helping you be that squeaky wheel, helping you be an effective negotiator on your own behalf. And in the case of wanting to build a more wildfire resilient home, of course, your biggest argument is always going to be, this is win-win for you, insurance company, and our household, in that this home will be more likely to withstand future events, and then and as much as possible. And I think you heard Lori refer to this. If you're working with a builder who can really do everything they can to have the budget look pretty close to what a traditional rebuild would cost. I mean, that's a hat trick. It's a difficult challenge, but it certainly can be done. Obviously wood, very expensive these days. So I can't speak to the cost of insulated concrete forms. But now I wanted to turn the program over to Robbie I'm going to stop sharing my screen so he can share his screen and tell us about the resources that rebuildingbetter.org offers, and some of the good work that's happening for Marshall Fire folks who want to rebuild resilient.
Great, thank you. I know I'm going to join the session on the 21st and ask you a lot more questions. So I hope other people do that as well. So this is the Rebuilding Better website that Boulder County has put together. So I'm Robbie Schwarz. I'm the New Homes Building Advisor. Really, my role is kind of the technical building side of the equation to help. Whoops.
Oh, sorry.
You're unmuted there.
Oh,
To help people rebuild their homes with the incentive programs that are built into the rebuilding process through our local utility, Xcel Energy, and actually the Colorado Energy Office has a incentive payment as well that's available. So this website is a great resource for you. It is broken down to navigate it at kind of a homeowner side and a builder side. The reality is that both sides are kind of pertinent to the process there. And you can also navigate it on this toolkit side here. The website is broken down into different chapters with regards to healthy homes, resilient homes, rebates and incentives, finding your team, materials and equipment, landscaping and outdoors are the 6 chapters. Finding your team, I really think, is where most of the people are at right now in the Marshall Fire area in Boulder County. It's really important to nail down your team, to get the right people on your team, which includes probably your architect, your builder, and for the Marshall Fire people who want to take advantage of the great incentive payments, it also is crucial to get an energy consultant involved, because all of the incentive programs are based off of the off of energy programs that are there for people. You can get to the incentives either by going to rebates or incentives, or on the builder side. I'm going to go to the builder side because it's kind of laid out a little bit easier here. These incentives are available for Marshall Fire residents that had their home completely burned. We are getting some questions from people who have extensive smoke damage. They're taking the building down to the studs, but they aren't completely rebuilding it in a new construction scenario. And unfortunately, the incentive aren't available for those folks right now. But these incentives are available. One of my questions for Amy in the next session will be with regards to codes, because most of these houses were built in the 80s and 90s, and just bringing them up to the new codes, not even the energy codes, but the international residential codes is a big lift. And it sounds like insurance companies should be covering a lot of that cost here. The 2021 International Energy Conservation Codes, most of the jurisdictions involved in the Marshall Fire had moved to that. And to some extent beyond the 2021 IECC. You are given the option of permitting under the 2018 International Energy Conservation Code or the 2021, and depending on the jurisdiction where your house was, you could go to their other adoption. Basically what I'm recommending right now is that you do permit under the 2021 International Energy Conservation Code, because that will lock in this incentive payment of $7,500. The rest of these building programs that are incentivized are energy efficient building programs, and they're mainly checklist driven. They're programs that a lot of builders have not had a lot of experience with. So if something goes wrong during the construction process and you did not permit under the 2021 IECC, you cannot fall back and utilize that $7,500 incentive payment. So what I'm promoting is basically a belts and suspenders approach when you think about these incentive payments, so that you lock in that $7,500 incentive by permitting under the 2021 IECC, and then you set a goal beyond that of the Energy Star, the DOE Zero Energy Ready Home program, the new certification or passive house, whichever one makes sense for you there in your particular situation there. The other thing to know about these programs is that you'll see this version number, version 3.2 or version 2. These are the newest versions of these programs. They are all linked to the 2021 as their kind of baseline efficiency. And therefore, it really doesn't make sense not to permit under the 2021 IECC. You're going to be achieving that level of efficiency anyway there. And then the last thing I guess I'll say is that I view energy efficiency as kind of a gateway drug to all kinds of building performance there. And resiliency and fire resiliency is part of that. And the website will point you to resiliency in the building materials section that Amy had shown us before. I think it's in that building section there. I'm sorry. Resilient home section. I'm sorry. That Amy had pointed to earlier in the presentation here. And you know, it's a little bit different philosophy, I guess, than what Phoenix Home is doing. It's what we might call hardening the building shell to ensure that embers and whatnot will not get into the building envelope, will not combust. You're using materials that are not as combustible as normal, but the basic structure of the house continues to be a wood framed house there. But you're using these techniques to build fire resiliency in that. There are other programs now through a group called Fortified and other resources that you can get more information about kind of this fire resiliency type of construction. And then the last thing I wanted to point you to was, again, going back to Finding Your Team. On the Finding Your Team site, we just uploaded a new section here, which is this section, which is a home building schedule. And I'm going to pull up this spreadsheet that you can download. This spreadsheet here will help you understand the construction process and ultimately how long that construction process will take. And it's important from a homeowner's perspective to understand that, because you're budgeting not only the construction of the house, but you're getting a certain amount of money for a 24-month period to supplement your rentals units that you're currently in right now. And in the Marshall fire area, you want to understand when construction starts and when you anticipate moving into that house, so that you can budget appropriately and ensure that you're going to be able to use that insurance money to fund your rental property in the short term properly. So this gives you a spreadsheet that you can work with your builder and architect on to get a start date and a duration, how long things should take, and then a finish time. And ultimately it ends with, your move-in date down here. Here, this is a typical construction. It might be based a little bit more on production type construction for production homes. So you really want to work with your builder to understand what they think, how long they think this particular task will take. And you can add tasks to the equation as well. But I added some. This was created by Kiewit Construction in Denver. And then I added some additional explanations here for each of the sections. And down here, we go through each of these points as well in a little bit more detail to help guide you through filling this out. And I think will be a great tool for people to download and begin using, so that they understand how long the construction cycle really will take them. The last, I guess I keep saying the last thing I'll talk about, but the last thing I'll talk about for real is the Q&A sessions. We're trying to get me as a resource out to the community more and more. So we just decided to do these QA sessions. It's going to kick off on July 20th, starting at 5 p.m. I think we'll go for a few hours and see how it goes. And we've blocked off the next 4 consecutive Wednesdays after that to do a QA session as well. So just bring your builder, bring your architect, bring your questions, and we'll do our best to answer questions from everybody. And we're committed to, we might not know the answer to every question, but we're committed to try and get you the answer to the questions that you have there. And we are just beginning to get the word out and the Zoom link to that. So keep a lookout in our local distribution channels through Boulder County, through Superior Rising is another local group, and Marshall Together is another local group in each of the communities that are there. But go to the website and go to the United Policyholders website. They're both great resources for you.
Thank you so much, Robbie. And for those of you who hadn't caught it, that there's a chat button on your Zoom toolbar. Even though you can't type into it, there you can read messages from our panels and from my staff. So you've got, Robbie has put there the information about the Q&A. Val Brown has been putting in there some rebate links, so you can open up that chat box by clicking on chat, and it'll open it up and you can read the messages that are directed at you, the audience. So Robbie, thank you so much. Amazing information, great website. Thank you. So we're going to get on to finishing the rest of our slide deck here. And you'll be glad to know that the next slide is a deep breath. So you've already gotten a lot of information thrown at you. So let's just do the old relax the shoulders, and I will be quiet for a minute and we can just get ready for the remaining information we're going to send your way. Okay, that's enough relaxing. All right, now we're going to review very briefly construction standards and risk mitigation steps. Just to share that we in California, where we are sort of in the middle of a big kind of an insurance crisis, where a lot of people in WUI and brush areas, suburban areas, have lost their insurance and have had to go into a state-run plan of last resort. We are working very hard to get programs in place that will allow people in these areas, if they have checked some of these boxes in terms of doing the steps that are identified as effective in wildfire risk reduction, that will make it easier for people to get insurance. But the reason we're mentioning this now, we've been making really good progress. There is a program in Colorado called Wildfire Partners, but not really relevant to y'all because you've already had the misfortune to have lost your homes, and now you're trying to move forward. But we wanted to sort of share with you very briefly what are the components of a house that have been identified by fire scientists and are being increasingly embraced by insurance companies as these factors make a home to be a better risk, a less likely to be destroyed future home. Class A fire rated roof, ember resistant vents, that 5 feet of defensible space around your home that's clear, 6 inches of non-combustible clearance at the base of your exterior, and then the plus sort of extras are things like non-combustible siding, the upgraded windows, tempered glass, and definitely boxed eaves. These are all approaches to preventing embers from getting into the house. In California, this is Chapter 7A of our WUI code. Again, you're going to see the same things repeated over and over. The roof free of leaves and the gutters being kept clear, non-combustible siding, Class A roof, etc. And I'm going to turn things over to my wonderful colleague Val Brown to walk you through building, to sort of familiarize you a bit more with the terminology of the types of materials that you may be able to incorporate into your rebuild.
Thank you, Amy. And so we're for this section, we're going to talk about building with fire resistant and non-combustible materials. So we're going to give you a familiarity with some of the products out there. Obviously on you to do your homework for this, but wanted to bring out what current and previous disaster survivors are rebuilding with. These are all materials that we've seen people rebuild with. The first of the fire resistant materials is the structured insulated panels. Again, as our experts have shared, this is looking at protecting the envelope. Any points of combustible material exposed would be a risk point. So you do have to be, as Robbie mentioned, be very careful about the envelope there. Next slide, Amy. These are in California and Colorado. These are some more fire resistant materials. This is siding materials. So James Hardie, Hardie Plank, for those of you who actually are in construction, is a product that a lot of people use that has a fire rating of generally an hour, and you can construct the assemblies to increase the amount of time that a flame can be on it before it would burn. And Montana Timber Products in Colorado is another product that's available to you. Next slide. Insulated concrete form, so ICF. This is an example of what that would look like. So we've got the insulation, concrete pour. Again, you know, it's the walls might be solid, but if you've got vulnerabilities in the rest of your envelope of your home, you need to be aware of that. So if someone is promising you something built with these fire resistant materials is not going to burn, you know, you need to ask them what that means, because just because the walls are going to stand doesn't mean the house will not burn. So going back to Lori's example, the vinyl windows, I have a friend who lost her house because the heat of the house next door melted her vinyl windows, and so she lost her house from the burning from the inside out once the window fell in. And so being aware of those risk points. Next slide. These are some other proprietary systems. So the Tritapanel, Bone, Duracell, E-Tech, TimberTech. And with these, you know, because they're proprietary systems, there's a lot of information you're not going to know. So if you're going down and investigating any of these, you know, ask them for information about their testing, you know, what the proof is in what they've done and how it stands up. So anybody making commitments that their product is going to do a certain thing, you know, be aware of that, that you do have some homework there. So, you know, please check these out. Next slide. Actually, Lori put in the chat. Thank you for that. These are some non-combustible materials. So the autoclaved aerated concrete, you know, again, this is a non-combustible material, which is great. But if you've got vulnerability points in the envelope of the house, be aware of that.
Yeah, and this autoclaved aerated concrete. I watched a demonstration of this in Santa Rosa, and I was fascinated. It's basically sand, right? I mean, it's kind of a sand derivative, I think.
Yeah, more non-combustible materials, adobe and stone options. And again, these are both for California and Colorado. Just note, any adobe structure within the state of California is required to have its own structural system designed by a licensed structural engineer for seismic reasons. It means you cannot go and build one on your own. You're going to have to work with an expert in this areas. But those are two more non-combustible options. And I think there's one more slide. Yes, and so you know, with all the fires, wildfires across the West, the universities have gotten in on the act, and so this is the House That Doesn't Burn from University of California at Davis. I believe there's a university in Colorado that's looking at hemp brick or hemp concrete, but I couldn't find anything on that. But this is a resource for you, as well as there's some interesting research going into the space. So it's an opportunity if you want to rebuild resilient. All of these things are obviously very energy efficient as well. But you know, knowing what your risks are when you go down that route. Is it non-combustible? Is it fire resistant? And what does that fire resistant mean? And making sure that as Lori put in the chat, that testing has been validated. You know, it's not internal testing. They use an outside expert who's reputable to do that testing.
Okay, thank you, Val. One more little interlude here. I think we're heading into the home stretch, and I appreciate everybody's attention and patience. Okay, we're just going to go through again a reminder about these areas of agreement. The first 5 feet being clear, defensible space, and then to the extent that you can comply with the updated codes. The location where you site your home makes a difference. One of the things that insurance companies pay a lot of attention to is, there are three things: slope, fuels, and access when they're deciding whether or not they're going to insure your home and how much they're going to charge you. The landscaping matters, limbing trees matters, keeping trees away, branches away from the home. And I'm going to sort of zip through these. We already went through that. This is an image of Roy Wright, who is used to run the National Flood Insurance Program. Now he runs something called IBHS, the Institute for Home and Business Safety. So we've been trying, they're the leaders in, they have a facility in South Carolina where they have just a giant warehouse where they build structures and then subject them to disaster-like conditions. So they'll like blast embers at them, or they'll shake them, or they'll blow really, really strong winds at them. And they test how homes hold up under these conditions. They have really stepped up their research on wildfires in recent years. The IBHS is funded by the insurance industry. And so the work that they're doing, the work that IBHS is doing, you know, our organization has been, I will say, a catalyst, sort of really trying to get them to, as quickly as possible, put out findings on that are positive about things that you can do to reduce wildfire risk. They were way ahead on things like things that you can do to prevent your roof from blowing off in a hurricane or a tornado, things that you can do to elevate your home so that water, rising water doesn't damage it. So with wildfire, we had to really encourage them in every way that we could to expedite their research on wildfires, because what insurance companies had been saying for many years is really, there's really not that much you can do. And it turns out that that's just not true. There are things you can do. But the most important thing is that that as many people as possible in a community do them, so that you kind of get this saturation of risk reduced homes. So again, the things that IBHS is emphasizing are the same things that we've been talking about. And you can see that depiction right there of a home that has doesn't have a deck where things can pile up underneath, and that doesn't have brush right around the house, doesn't have a wood fence leading right up to the house. And you can see that the importance of defensible space gets illustrated in a picture like the one on the left. Here's a home that survived the Woolsey fire in Southern California, and it had been, they had created defensible space around the home. And then here's an example of one that didn't have defensible space that did get destroyed in 2017. These are just some examples of, you know, on the right there, non-combustible stucco and effective landscape management, protecting a house that made it through the Carr fire in Northern Cal in 2018. And here on the left, you can see there's some brush close to the house, but minor. And this was considered to be an improved wildfire risk, and it did in fact survive the Waldo Canyon fire in 2012. Val, do you want to walk us through real quick on the Firewise plants?
Yes. So two things here. We've got Firewise plants. The next slide will be Firewise landscaping. And I mean, the plants that are available, they're typically natives. They're very water-wise as well as fire-wise. So these are two resources for you in each, one in each state, that just walk you through the different types of plants that are considered fire-wise. And the next slide, Amy, is just the Fire Smart landscaping. And so this is just something about, you know, being water-wise and laying out your landscaping in a way that protects you, creating that buffer. Nothing, you know, as we talked about with mitigation steps earlier, not having things in that first 5 feet, but how to set this up, so that it's going to protect you in the future. So that's really all that is. And then additional resources here. Obviously, the Rebuilding Better site with Boulder County, just want to remind you of that. In California, this is a report on resilient recovery for the wildland urban interface and rebuilding after wildfires. And I believe, yes, and then this last one's just a general list of some stellar resources we've found over time from our work with disaster survivors and our RAP initiative that we felt would be helpful to you.
So just a reminder of the other programs that we've got coming up. July 13th, July 19th. This slide doesn't have the July 21st date that we'll be hosting the Q&A, but hopefully you've noted that down. Same time as tonight, 5 o'clock Pacific and 6 o'clock Mountain. This is the toll-free number for the California Department of Insurance, which is a great resource if you're having problems. Similarly, the Colorado Division of Insurance working way over time to address the problems people are having with their insurance in the aftermath of the Marshall Fire. Both these agencies are partners with United Policyholders. We do a lot of collaborative work with them. I want to thank our California funders, the Community Foundation of Santa Cruz County, Solano Community Foundation, Golden State Finance Authority, and the Rural County Representatives of California, and our funders in Colorado, the Community Foundation of Boulder, which has been incredibly important and made it possible for us to get right in immediately after the Marshall Fire and be of service. We also are grateful to the United Way of Larimer County for funding our work there. And then one final reminder, on our website, we have something called the Ask an Expert Forum, where you can register to ask a question. And the questions are getting answered by a team of our staff and then our professional volunteers. So that's something in addition to all the information that you can find at uphelp.org. And then all these programs like tonight, which we have recorded, which you now can watch at your convenience, and share the link with any of your friends and neighbors that may not have known about it, but may be interested. So I really want to thank Lori and Sarah very much from Phoenix Development, and Ryan Palos for sharing your personal situation, being with us, saying nice things about our organization. Always.
Thank you, you guys. Thank you so much for having us. And thank you all out there for sharing your time with us. We really appreciate it.
And Robbie, thanks so much for what you're doing in Boulder. It's pretty inspiring to see how the experience that Boulder County has had with previous wildfires is being put to such good use, and not that it's an easy road for anybody in this situation, and we know that very, very well, which is why we strive to bring you news that you can use, and with as little extraneous information, we try to get right to it. So our panel was great. We're so grateful. Thank you to my team, Carolyn Winter, Val Brown, for the prep that led up to tonight. And then again, just a reminder, the slide deck and the recording will be available free of charge in the next couple of days. The slide deck's already up there, but if you want to be able to watch, go back and rewind and hear some of the things Sarah and I'm sorry that Lori was going through about what makes their approach different, and then the resources that Robbie shared, and as well what Ryan shared, you'll be able to do that. So if you have more questions, we'll see you on the 21st. And with that, I hope you have a pleasant rest of your evening. We're rooting for your recovery. Thank you so much from United Policyholders. Good night.
And thanks for everything you do, Amy, and your team.
Yes, thank you guys.
It's our pleasure to be of service.